Welcome everybody to Week in Review. It really is an honor to be able to serve you, and I trust we can together be on a journey, and it's a journey to discover truth. I want to share with you what I really believe, and I trust this is not an overstatement, is a scoop of the year. You're not going to hear this in a lot of places, but I want to share it with you. But first of all, I want to give you a little backdrop on myself. When we talk about a week in review, I want to back up, I want to go forward, but I want to first of all let you know a little bit about myself. When I graduated 50 years ago from Cleveland State University, I had a degree in communications, and I won awards. I give God all the glory. I was a new Christian, but I was able to receive the President's Award and the Alumni Award. They saw me as an outstanding student, and they recognized that I had a passion for the truth, for declaring it, and for living it. I wanted to be authentic. Well, we live in a time where, as Isaiah 59 says, truth has fallen in the streets. And you know, when I was just a young Christian, and I mean this sincerely, I was with a man named Herb Titus, who was establishing the law school at Regent University. He spent a day with me, and he said to me, Larry, the crisis in our culture is a crisis of truth. And he took me to the Gospel of John, where Jesus said, for this purpose was I born, and have I come into the world to declare the truth. That's what Jesus said. Now, Satan is a liar, and he is a deceiver. And we have to know the truth, and then we have to be bold enough to declare it no matter what the cost. And there will be consequences, because people will be persecuted, as we know. Now, a man named G. Campbell Morgan, who was a tremendous Bible teacher in the last century, he said we have to expect persecution when we declare the truth. Did you know that? I mean, George Orwell, when he wrote 1984, he said, in a time of deception, he said, to declare the truth is a revolutionary act. And so G. Campbell Morgan said the church is going to be persecuted, and we have to accept it. And so what did he say? Well, Morgan said, look in the book of Acts. And he said, the church persecuted is the church purified and the church powerful. But the church patronized is the church in peril and the church that is paralyzed. We don't want to be that way. You look in Acts chapter 5, you see the disciples, they were told, Peter and John, stop declaring the truth and talking about Jesus. And they said to them, when they were called in, they said, look, whether it be right in the eyes of man or God, you make the call on that. But as for us, we will not hold back and stop declaring what we've seen and what we've heard. I want to challenge you to be on a crusade with me and on a journey to declare the truth. Recently, the man that starred in The Passion of the Christ, I love him, Jim Caviezel. He's a Catholic, but he challenged us to be bold and to tell the truth in this battle. Listen what he said.
Every man dies. Not every man truly lives. You. We all must fight for that authentic freedom and live, my friends. By God, we must live. And with the Holy Spirit as your shield and Christ as your sword, may you join Saint Michael and all the angels in sending Lucifer and his henchmen straight right back to hell where they belong.
Will you be a truth teller and stand with me and stand for the truth in this hour? There are people that are inspiring us, and I am inspired by their actions. You know, recently the Pope has become more bold. Now, he has some Marxist leanings because of his background, but he is getting firm and aggressive in saying, I want to make it clear, abortion is homicide. And we have to be kind, but we have to declare that. This is not reproductive rights and abortion is beautiful mantra. No. You know, there's people today that are declaring we've got to make all kinds of adjustments in our culture because of what? Global warming and climate change. Well, I've made commentaries and addressed that and the folly of much of this. Now, I'm a good steward. I take care of the environment. But do you know, if you look at the Antarctica as an example, do you know they've just completed their winter season? And do you know they have had the coldest winter they've ever had? 18 below zero was the average. Unbelievable. But you know what? Then we hear people saying we've got to make all these changes today because of global warming. There's a man, he is the lieutenant governor, and I am so proud of this man. His name is Robinson. And he is, I believe his name is Mark Robinson. He's the lieutenant governor. And he made statements about books being disseminated into the schools for children that would somehow advocate the LGBTQ agenda. And he said homosexuality, lesbianism, and this, he said it is filth in these kind of books. Well, the cancel culture came after him. We got to get him out of office. We got to get rid of him. But you know what? He didn't back down. He said, I maintain this material is filth. That is a man that is really, I'd say, standing strong. Now, let me give you another example. I lived in Virginia for a while. I was right next to Loudoun County. There's been lots of activity there because parents have taken up in the school board meetings saying, we don't want perversion being taught in schools. We don't want critical race theory dividing our children, you know, the oppressed and the oppressors and skin color and all of this stuff. Well, when they've done that, they've run into trouble because there is a prosecutor there in Loudoun County. By the way, she got in office with $800,000 support from George Soros, who wants to see this country taken down. And so when all of a sudden, you know, this prosecutor was standing for a school board member, they were trying to stop parents. But the parents didn't relinquish. They didn't throw in the towel. They stood strong. And as a result of it, what we've seen is the school board now having to back down, and they're working hard, these parents, that they can see a recall of this leftist prosecutor there in Loudoun County. They're telling the truth. Those parents, they want, you know, to go contrary to what a man running for governor, Terry McAuliffe, this is a man that's, you know, worked with Hillary Clinton, and he said recently, parents should have no right to say what's being taught in the school. Can you believe this? And they're even pushing to try and get the FBI, get, you know, Attorney General Garland to see parents that are doing this kind of stuff as, label them domestic terrorists. These parents are not backing down. There's a man also in that area whose daughter, 15 years of age, and this is Loudoun County there, transgender, LGBTQ, it's harmless, it's beautiful, all the rest of that. Well, his daughter, 15 years of age, was raped horribly. Who did it? Well, a transgender, a guy that was wearing a dress. He was a predator and he got this girl, raped her. The father spoke up and they tried to cover it up there. And so what happened was he went to a meeting, and then as he was speaking up, it's a cover up, this is wrong. They had the police enforcement try to take this guy out of there. You say, what's going on? Well, the tragedy was this same fella that went into the restroom, you know what? About a month later, he went into another restroom in another school, and he did the same thing in trying to rape another girl. It all could have been prevented if they had listened to this man, but he did speak up. Now you say, Larry, tell me, what's the scoop? What's the scoop? Well, there's a precious conservative woman. I love her, Molly Hemingway. Maybe you've heard of her. And she'll work for Hillsdale College and the Heritage Foundation, and she's a writer. And recently, she discovered, and here's the scoop, people have said, you know, fraudulent election, and, you know, what about voting machines, and, you know, the pillow guy, and everybody speaking it, but we can't get the forensic evidence to prove it. Mr. Trump says it. Well, Molly went after it, and you know what she came up with? She discovered that, yes, the head there of Facebook, Mark Zuckerberg, had given, get this, $420 million to tax-exempt two organizations that really were assisting people in what you call vote navigators. And they would go out into the poorer neighborhoods, and they did it in Arizona and Wisconsin and Georgia and Michigan, Pennsylvania, 7 main areas that were really important for the election. And what they did is they went to places where there were mail-in ballots, and they assisted. You can't do this in a polling place, but they went door to door and canvassed the neighborhoods, and they were assisting people in tutoring them how they should vote. Amazingly, you were finding for Mr. Biden, and then they would, you know, bundle it together and even take it to the polling places. Well, folks, this lady, Molly, spoke up, and this is why we have to have election reform, and we've got to clamp down on this. There are people today that don't believe that there is a revolution taking place in this nation. It's a revolution of values. And I'll tell you, when Mr. Obama came into office, do you remember him saying it's a time for the fundamental transformation of America? And he put forth an image. But then we saw his celebration of abortion and Planned Parenthood and lighting up the White House and LGBTQ agenda and all the rest of that. Well, who's running the White House now? Well, I think he has a part in this, a major part. He talks regularly on the phone. He calls it a bromance, Obama with Mr. Biden. And there's something going on. And when there were the debates that took place, you may recall that Mr. Biden's team said, yeah, we have no trouble with checking for any surveillance electronic devices, because the people were wondering if Mr. Biden was going to be in an earplug getting some information. Well, recently there was a talk show host, Stephen Colbert, who interviewed Mr. Obama. Does Obama have influence today? Listen what Obama said to Stephen Colbert.
I used to say, you know what, if I could make an arrangement where I had a stand-in, a front man or front woman, and they had an earpiece in, and I was just in my basement in my sweats looking through the stuff, and then I could sort of deliver the lines, but somebody else was doing all the talking and ceremony. Wow. I'd be fine with that.
We are living in challenging times, and I want to challenge you with what you've heard here. Take a stand. Say, I am going to be a truth teller. I don't care what the cost, I'm going to stand strong. I end with this. Dietrich Bonhoeffer, who paid a price for it, what? Telling the truth, exposing Hitler, and he was hung for it. But he's the one that said, silence in the face of evil is only evil itself. God will not hold us guiltless. Not to speak is to speak. Not to act is to act. Let's act for truth, take a stand, and let's declare truth in our day.